welcome back to Crabcakes and Baseball, everybody. My name is Jerry Shank. With you as always, with me as always, our Maryland Scouting Director, Jamie Naill. Jamie, how are we doing?
It's been a while, Jerry. I'm doing well. Heading into the fall. School just started a few weeks ago, so I'm doing great. Doing great.
Yeah, and Jamie says it's been a while. I know you guys saw our last episode last week. We had recorded that a few weeks prior, kind of got lost in the shuffle with a busy couple of weeks. We got tournaments going on and everything. Yeah, we haven't been able to talk in a few weeks, so we're ready to get after it. And we're gonna on today's episode, we are going to talk rankings. Last month, we went through all of our rankings, the 24s, the 25s, the 26s. So we're going to break down the next two episodes of Crab Cakes and Baseball, and we're going to really break and do a deeper dive into our rankings and talk about some players and highlight some players throughout this process. Um, First off, let's get right into it and let's go with the 2024 class. Now, all of you, we have seen, everybody's seen the rankings. We have our top 10 out, our top 225 players from the state. We're just going to kind of do a recap on really just some of the players who stick out to us from those rankings. So we're going to start with our new faces in the 24 class. And we really want to highlight a player here, Jamie. I know this has been kind of an enigma for us because he's been really tough to find, but he's really blown on the scene for PBR, and that is out of the Tome School, Nolan Peel up in Northern Maryland.
Yeah, physical righty. We saw video from him. He was down at the 17U National Championship down at Lake Point over the summer. The stuff explodes. It was really nice to see. I have yet to see him with my own eyes. Definitely want to get out there this spring and take a look at him. He's a Rutgers commit. Feel for the zone is evident. It's consistent. He can spin it for strikes. Fastball explodes out of the hand up to 90, 91. So definitely an explosive arm out of a smaller school in Northeast Maryland that's really jumping onto the scene, especially this rankings update.
Yeah, it was really funny when we see him. We were like, "What in the heck? Where did this kid come from?" And got to see him down at the national championship. Our coworkers down there at Lake Point getting to see him, and really impressive from what we saw. Like you said, Rutgers commit, really good pickup for them um, out there for with Nolan Peel, who entered our rankings inside the top 10. So really interesting player. Really excited, like you said, to see him this spring. Now let's take a deeper dive into our new faces. Now we did the new faces story. This is a player that wasn't on there, but another new face comes into our rankings. He's in at 101, I do believe, and that is out of St. Maria Goretti, Nicholas Petrozello. Sorry, excuse me. I was going to really butcher that last name, Nicholas, so I apologize. Nicholas Petrozello. Jamie, what do you got on him?
Yeah, I really wanted to highlight this two-way guy. I really like the lefty swing at the unsigned senior games when we saw him in August. Really like that swing. He's got some pull side pop. It's more of a line drive tendency kind of guy, but the feel for the barrel is definitely there. It's wiry, athletic frame, some arm strength there as well. I think it's a bat first kind of guy, but he definitely impressed me at the unsigned senior games.
Yeah, for sure. That was a really good event. I mean, we didn't have a huge amount of numbers at it, but man, the talent there just blew us off the board, man. It was a really good event that we held this August at Joe Cannon Stadium. Now, let's move on to the risers. There was a lot of players that moved up in our 24 class in the rankings, really trying to clean those up as we get closer to graduation day for this class, which is hard to think now that school's just started. But let's highlight a few players and talk about a few of our risers in those 24 rankings. The first one we're going to look at, a really interesting player, Jamie. We've talked about him at length. We've seen him over the past 2 years, really kind of just came out of nowhere for us. We watched him at a scout day up at Hereford High School with the Hereford Bulls. A really interesting two-way talent out of Perry Hall, and that is AJ Mendoza.
Yeah, AJ Mendoza, like you said, we saw him at that Hereford Scout Day. It was probably 2 years ago, maybe, and you saw some flashes. There was definitely a spark there. It was an undersized guy. He's still a little undersized, and he's going to go to Hartford Community College, one of the premier JUCOs in the state of Maryland. But the performance that he had at the top prospect games blew us away. I think he started on the bump. He led off the game with a triple into right center, so he's got some sneaky poolside pop. I really like the frame. Really love the athleticism. The arm strength is there. He can pick it up the middle. This is a guy that can definitely impact the game on both sides of the ball. I'm not sure which one I like more, whether it's the arm or the bat, because he can do it. He can do it both, and he can impact the game in all facets. So really, really special player, AJ Mendoza out of Perry Hall. It's a smaller school in Maryland, but this is a guy that definitely opened our eyes at the top prospect games.
Yeah, for sure. And the biggest thing really to me watching him was just the ceiling. It's a really high ceiling player. There's a lot more left there as he develops. I think it's a great fit at Hartford. If he can really get after it and get in there and crack the lineup, he could be one of those guys. And you always see it with Hartford, and a lot of JUCOs, across the state of Maryland, but Hartford as well. You really see guys make leaps and bounds once they get to that next level. So it'll be very interesting and very fun to just monitor and see how Mendoza does develop over the course of this year and then when he goes off to junior college. Now let's go into a deeper dive right here. And this is a player I know we've liked, and then he really blew up this summer, had a really nice summer going into our fall right now. And that's Loyola Blakefield arm, Jacob Hawk, a Maryland commit.
Yeah, Jacob Houck. I saw him this past spring with Loyola. The physicality stands out. The ability to hit the ball for strength and power to both gaps, it's special. Like I said, the physicality really jumps out. We saw him catch Jake Yeager last week in the Virginia Fall Championships, and his receiving is off the charts. With an arm like Jaeger, where Jaeger's sitting, 91, 94, touching a 95, and the way that Hal could, body balls and block and recover, and how strong his hands are behind the plate. It's really something to see. Always as a guy in my eyes, that was a bat first, defense second kind of guy. But the arm strength stood out to me in between innings on his pop times down to second base. Went poolside double. That's completely exploded off the bat. It's a really really nice bat that can catch as well. A recent University of Maryland commit, so really nice pickup from them. Um, I really like him. There's a lot that I can say, but he definitely impressed me last weekend.
Or when I was looking at Hawk on our script, I accidentally read a picture, so I said pitcher right there for everybody who's listening. A really interesting catcher, really physical prospect. Really like the way he looked. Watching him just this past weekend in a fall tournament, really impressive player is Jacob Hawk out of Loyola Blakefield. And I apologize, I'm going to butcher your name 100 times, Jacob. I had a player who actually coached. Side story, had the same last name, spelled the same, but he pronounced it Hawk. So I'm really confused now. So that's why I was screwing up everything. So we're making a tremendous podcasting right now while we're doing this. So let's continue on. Now let's go into uncommitted players. Now this is irregardless of rankings. Doesn't matter where they're at in the rankings. Don't have to be the very top one available. Just some guys who are really interesting to us. We're excited about. We think really have a high ceiling. Really could help someone down the road who are still available in the 24 class. Jamie, let's start with you. We're going to talk about an arm down in the SMAC conference. Really interesting guy. He's still bouncing around. Still got some availability. That's Logan Hastings out of Huntingtown.
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan of Hastings. Went through a little bit of an injury issue this summer leading into the fall, but when he's healthy, he can spin it with the best of them. Fastball completely explodes out of the hand. It's a special arm down there in the SMAC conference. Like I said, I've been a huge fan of him. He's kind of been on this train where I'm waiting on him to get picked up just because the stuff is so advanced, and the mound presence and the way that the arm works, it's special. It's one of the top arms in this class. Obviously going through a little bit of the injury issues are a little bit of a concern, but when he's healthy, like I said, he's one of the top arms in this class. So Logan Hastings, definitely a guy that will get picked up. There's no doubt in my mind, and some special stuff there on the bump out of Huntingtown.
Yeah, for sure. And you want to talk about spin rate on the breaking ball. Logan definitely falls into that category. Really nice secondary stuff. Now, for me, I'm going to go to our sister state, the state of Delaware, and Cape Henlopen High School. Right-handed pitcher Reed Thompson. He was at our Delaware Top Prospect Games this past summer. Really interesting arm. I like the frame. It's a real durable frame. You can really see he's the type of guy who's going to be able to eat some innings for you. It's a mid-80s fastball. Liked how it worked. It was a pretty easy delivery. The ball came out well. I think there's still plenty of raw to that delivery. I think there's more in there. I think he's really going to make somebody happy down the road. I think it's going to be a really nice spring for him as well with Cape, who is, traditionally always a contender for that Delaware State title. They'll definitely be in the mix again this year with another strong season. But Reed Thompson out of Cape Henlopen, really interesting arm. Definitely one that we want to keep our eyes on as we head into the spring season, who is uncommitted. Last one here. Let's go down to the Eastern Shore at Stephen Decatur High School. Jamie, another arm, potential two-way guy who's really impressed us over the years, and that's Lucas Loring.
Yeah, another arm out of Decatur. Pretty much every time we get onto a podcast, we talk about an arm or a standout player out of Stephen Decatur, and Lucas Loring is another one. He's kind of a late bloomer. Some of the coaches that I've spoken to have asked me why he's still on the board. And, the honest answer is he was kind of a late bloomer that flew under the radar. And now he's really opening a ton of eyes, not only on the East Coast, but across the country when you talk about college wise. So it's a fastball that reaches into the 90s, 91. I think there's still plenty there to it as well. He's still got plenty in the tank. I love the frame. It's lean, still plenty of room to fill out. Can spin for strikes as well. So that's another arm out of Decatur. That's going to be a really, really, really nice late pickup for a college here shortly.
All right, so now let's go to our 2025 ranks and recap here. Another really talented class in the state of Maryland is the 25 class. A lot of really good players still available, and some of them are just starting to go off the board. Let's start off with our new faces recap. I want to highlight one of our players who was in the story. If you guys watch it or get on there onto prepbaseballreport.com/Maryland, out of River Hill High School, a really interesting player here, and that's Anderson Dang.
Yeah, I saw him last spring. Talking to the River Hill coaching staff, it's one of the guys that they raved about, and seeing River Hill a couple times, it was a chance for me to really hone in on this bat. And I love the hit tool. Above average feel for the barrel. He sprays the ball all across the field, pounds the middle, line drive tendencies. Love how the hands work. They're quick. They're fluid. There's present bat speed there. I think this is another under the radar kind of bat that not a lot of people know about, but soon will, because I really, really like the hit tool.
Yeah, and now we go on a deeper dive into our new faces. A lot of new faces into this rankings, into the 25 class. This one's a real interesting left-handed pitcher out of the Severn School. High ceiling guys we've talked about again, and that is Caden Blank.
Yeah, you and I saw him last weekend at the Virginia Fall Championships, and it was a field that I went to for a couple innings just to check out the U.S. Elite team. There weren't many Maryland teams down there, but I had to get over there to see some of those guys. And this was an arm that I got to see work for 2 innings, and I loved every bit of it. The velo is still not there yet, but it continues to tick up. It's into the low 80s now. We really love how the arm works. You and I raved about him when we talked for a few minutes. But Caden Blank, that's a left-handed arm that can spin for strikes. He pounds the zone, can mix it up, throws any pitch in any count. It was the I factor. He has something with him that I really really loved, and driving away to another field, I kept thinking about it and thinking how high of a ceiling Blank has.
Yeah, for sure. You look at the frame, it's really lanky. There's a lot more room there, especially to add some strength. Arm works relatively easy. I like the spin. Honestly, I think that's going to be something that if he can just throw it a little bit harder, it's going to continue to get better. But it's a good pitch. He throws it for strikes. I just like to see him be a little more aggressive with it. I think that's something that over time it will definitely happen. But he filled up the zone, and with today's velo age with pitchers, the biggest thing is having that ability to be able to spin for strikes, and that's kind of something that can separate arms now, is that ability to spin for strikes. So you see that there. Yeah, I'd like to see him throw it a little bit harder. It was in kind of the mid upper 60s. I'd like to see it get into the 70s range, which I think it will as he continues to climb with his velocity. So definitely a guy um, to look at there out of our new faces. Now, let's go into our risers. And the first one that we want to talk about here, Jamie, is another one who's just came out of nowhere, came out of nowhere. And it's shocking. It's at Archbishop Spalding, who just seems to be a factory right now with some talent, a player who really, didn't get a ton of time over there this past season, but is somebody just in the waiting who is going to be a really, really interesting arm. And that is Maryland commit Peyton Mamula.
Yep, recent Maryland commit. We saw him at the pro case earlier this year. He will have a much bigger role with Spalding this year. I can promise that. Parker Thomas out now, Sharman out now. So, along with Braden Robinson, Wines, Yeager, Mamula, this pitching staff is better than it ever has been. And it's crazy saying that after losing Sharman and Parker Thomas from last year's team. But Spalding is going to be special. Mamula is another guy that we really liked at the pro case. It was my first real look at him this spring. I'm obviously going to get plenty more looks, but I love the pitchability from him. The size continues to increase from what I've seen. I love how the arm works. It's clean. It's quick. He's a guy that it's a 3 pitch mix that he can throw for strikes and he can throw it in any count. So that pitching staff is going to be a lot of fun to watch with him and Braden Robinson really getting more innings than what they had last year. So watch out for Spalding, and Peyton Mamula is going to be a guy quickly on the rise in this class.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you have Thomas and Yeager and the other one you were talking about, all those innings that they were able to eat up. Yeager's going to be the workhorse this year. You still got Wines as well. It's going to be a lot of fun watching Spalding again because Mamula and Robinson really have blown up in the past few months. So it should be a lot of fun. Let's go to our deeper dive. Going to take another look. Let's stay in the MIAA conference. We've got out of Calvert Hall, Thomas Pilarski.
Yeah, Calvert Hall. This is another team in that MIAA that is loaded and maybe loaded on the other side of the ball from what Spalding is on the pitching side. But Calvert Hall and their position guys are very, very talented, and Thomas Pilarski's right in the middle of that mix. Big riser in this latest rankings update. I love Pilarski. I love what he can do on both sides of the ball. I love him defensively. He can impact the game with his speed. It's a plus athletic guy, developing pop, developing power to the gaps. It's going to be a high contact, high average kind of guy at the next level. And this is another one that is definitely on the rise quickly through this class.
Yeah, and then we're going to talk about two more players within the risers. And, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a player that I got to watch this past weekend at the Virginia Fall Championships at that tournament. It was on that U.S. Elite Mid Atlantic team. And, before I even get far into it, one of the things, if anybody goes on to Twitter and they go onto my Twitter handle, which is at Jerry_Shank, my pinned tweet I have up there, and it talks about rankings and it talks about, hey, it's not an exact science. Um, but sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. We love it when people prove us wrong, and the whole reason I say that is because this is a player who's just continued to get better, and I think he's really rising, and he was a really hot commodity this past early fall who recently just made his commitment, and that is middle infielder Travis Pites out of Calvert Hall, a guy who really didn't play a ton at Calvert Hall this past spring. I know, Jamie, when you got to watch them, a lot of times they had Butler in the middle, but when Butler was on the mound, Pites came in. We're definitely going to see him in a bigger role, I would imagine, this upcoming spring. But there's a lot to like out of Travis. I really like the frame. I think there's a lot of untapped potential. The hands are extremely good defensively. I love how they work. I think the speed will play very well in the middle, even could potentially move over to third base. I like just kind of the calm, cool collectiveness of the player. Again, he recently committed to George Washington. A really good, nice pickup right there. I really liked him. I thought it was a really nice pickup for GW, but he's going to be a fun player to watch this spring. Like I said, I really enjoyed watching him. I liked him more and more as that tournament went along, and I was fortunate enough to get to watch them for a handful of games. So Travis Pites out of Calvert Hall, definitely somebody who's going to continue to rise, and I wouldn't be shocked he continues to rise as we continue to update those rankings. Now, Jamie, you've got another player that you want to talk about. This is a guy who has really showed up well for us. He continues to impress. Let's go down to Bethesda, Chevy Chase High School, and Trent Lopez.
Yeah, Trent Lopez out of BCC, a guy that we've seen at plenty of events, plenty throughout the spring. It's a dude that definitely shows up in game. In Montgomery County, there's a ton of arms down there. You're looking at mid to upper 80s into the 90s arms pretty much every game. I could spend every day during my spring coverage watching Montgomery County baseball because it's so good across the state. And every time I watched BCC, Trent Lopez showed up. It didn't matter what arm they were facing. Trent Lopez did what he was supposed to do, and he shined. The ability to hit for strength, really to the opposite field, is something that definitely opened my eyes this past spring. And the events and the scout days that we've seen Trent at this summer and this fall, nothing's changed, and it's only gotten better. So this is a guy that's quickly on the rise. It's a guy that has a ton of athleticism. That's still developing power and strength in that frame, but I really like Trent Lopez, and it's a guy that's on my list to watch more and more this spring. Um, and we'll see how it works out for him. But I love the guy in this class.
Yeah, for sure. And again, he just continues to get better. Every time you get to see him, there's something new. He just continues to get stronger. Really like the way the game plays. Let's go to our uncommitted. Again, regardless of rankings here, we're just somebody who really excites us. Jamie, I'm going to throw it to you first. We're going to go to Glen Elk High School, and that is Nicholas Belotto.
Yeah, Nicholas Bellato, uh, projectable 6'2", 180. No, I butcher names all the time, but no, Bellato out of Glenelg. I love the kid. I love the frame, 6'2", 180, ultra projectable. He's still gaining strength, still filling out that frame. It's high intent, um, upper 80s into the 90s velo. It continues to rise, continues to tick up every time we see him. I saw him twice over the summer and once during the U.S. Elite Scout Day, and he was one of the better arms that we saw at that Scout Day. The slider's tight; it's a shorter shape, but he throws it for strikes. The fastball explodes out of the hand. He can go arm side, glove side with ease. So this is an arm that continues to clean up the mechanics. The arm action continues to clean up, and it's quick, and it's going to be an arm that's one of the top in this class, especially the spring coming up.
All right, and now I'm going to finish it up. Another player that I got to see this past weekend at the Fall Championships, guy who is, I think, really going to be jumping up as well in our as a riser. He rose a little bit in our past rankings update. I think he's going to continue to climb, and that is outfielder Will Hack out of Calvert Hall. And again, he was somebody who really impressed. We got to watch him at the Scout Day, and he really stood out. Sub 6'5", 60-yard dash. Really, really ran well. Um, Love how he patrols the outfield and center field, really runs it down. The arm strength is there. It's mid upper 80s. And then at the plate, what I love the most about Hack is it's a really good bat to ball skill. Like he's got very good barrel control. He really, really challenges pitchers when he's at the plate. His ABs are a battle, and it is something you could just tell. I got to watch him against a lot of good arms, and he did not give in. He did not give in for one bit in any of his ABs. I really like that bat to ball skills, found a lot of barrels. hit a lot of balls hard, showed the power to all parts of the field. Like, there's a lot to like about Hack. I really think he is going to continue to rise. It was really interesting, I tell you what. Just being able to be a center fielder, patrol the outfield as well as he does, has the arm strength, can play all three outfield positions, and he's a very versatile bat who could play in multiple spots in that lineup. Between, he could be a leadoff guy for you. I watched him hit a basically a routine ground ball to the 5-6 hole, and he beat it by about 3 steps. But then he could be in the middle of that order as well. I watched him take one off the top of the fence in a deep park about 380 with a double to left center. So there's a lot to like about Hack. I think the sky's the limit. He's going to be definitely one to keep an eye on, and definitely somebody who's uncommitted that a lot of people should be on right now. So that's going to do it for our episode of Crab Cakes and Baseball. We're getting into it. We're getting ready as we get further into the fall. Wanted to thank everyone for all of your continued support. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. For Jamie Naill, I am Jerry Shank. It's Crab Cakes and Baseball. That's what PBR Maryland does. We'll see you next time.